The Viltrox 85mm 1.8 autofocus for Sony full frame cameras. Interesting. Viltrox recently got in touch after seeing my review on the Samyang 85mm and the Sony 85mm and wanted to let me know about their new 85mm 1.8. Now this comes in at a bargain £300 or just under $300 in the US. I put an asterisk next to that. It's only a bargain if it performs well, but certain people are telling me certain good things about this, so I'm very keen to try this out and see what I can do with it. So I'm not going to hang about, I'm going to get this unboxed, see what's inside. So it seems that this slides out from the side. I've actually got another one of their products, the Viltrox Speed Booster EM2, which I use on the Blackmagic for Canon EF lenses, and I'm actually very impressed with that for the price compared to the Metabone Speed Booster. Anyone who knows about speed boosters for video work, the Metabones is the sort of market leader. Viltrox released a budget version and it performs really well. It's not quite as good or on the money, but it's a fifth of the cost. So wanted to see how this looks, and the packaging is reasonably high standard, what you'd expect really from a premium product. So we open that up. Now we have a nice little cloth, suede cloth bag for the lens, and what looks like a warranty card if you want to register the product through their own website. And there we go. Well, straight away, haven't even taken the wrap off, but straight away the weight of this is definitely heavier than the Sony. You can see side by side the Sony and the Viltrox. Hopefully you can see it on the top camera there. There's more glass on the Viltrox straight away. You can see there's just more glass at the front, and the weight of it definitely feels more premium, which has actually surprised me. The Sony is a fantastic build, but the Viltrox definitely feels more premium. Now, Viltrox didn't ask for anything for this review. They've agreed to send me the lens, and their exact words were, "We stand by our product." That gave me high hopes in itself, because there's certain companies that want to send you stuff with certain caveats, and I'm like, no, I will review it as I do with everything, and I want to be open and honest about it. So I was very interested to see the build quality of it. It's very similar to the Sony. There is a bit more glass, a little bit more weight, but generally it's a very similar shape. It's actually only a little bit taller. The barrel size seems more or less identical. They've obviously decided to take a leaf straight out of Sony's book and go very close to it. Now the Sony has an autofocus and manual focus button. The Viltrox does not. And if we look in the back, you can see the difference there in the connectors. It is very, very similar. And I'll pop this straight on for you now so you can have a look at what it looks like on the camera. And there we go. So the clearance room is pretty much going to be identical, because the shape of where it gets close to the camera, the barrel close to the camera there, it's pretty much identical to the Sony. There's a tiny, tiny bit. This is obviously on the A7 III body, and you can feel a tiny bit, but I got chunky hands anyway, so I don't see it being an issue. There is a weight. It does feel like a very premium lens. Definitely a lot heavier than the Sony. I still don't think you're going to notice it massively, but it feels like there is more to it. Can't explain that other than just the way it feels in the hand. We'll put the lens cap on. I will say that is one place they may have cheaped out on the plastic and the connection. It's a little bit rough when you're sliding it on, whereas when you put the Sonys on, it just clicks in a lot nicer. But again, they're trying to keep costs down for a reason, and if you want something to start off with a prime, they're arguing this is the prime to get, or certainly arguing this is the 85mm prime to get. Focusing is fly-by-wire, and that's a nice big focus ring to grab hold of. No complaints there. So initial thoughts, I'm very impressed with it, but as always, it's the results that I get, obviously through the lens, that will tell me whether or not this is a good deal. So obviously I need to get this thing out in the field, put it through its paces. Let's go and see what it can do. Great job, Viltrox. I am impressed. Just check out some of these images I got from the last few weddings. Viltrox have done it. They have released an 85mm prime lens that can stand on its own against the best 85mm 1.8s out there. It really is a great lens, and there's nothing about this other than weight that holds it back against its Sony counterpart. It's a phenomenal lens. I'm very impressed with the images I was getting out of this. As you were looking at some of those images just then, you'll see the results I was able to get from it. I've been very impressed. Sharpness was spot on. Never any issues with sharpness. If the image wasn't sharp, that was user error. It's very, very good. Focusing didn't seem to have any issues. I will say, the very first time I used it, I had a slight issue when the couple was walking towards the camera and it seemed to not quite hit focus properly, or it went to a different setting. It turned out I had actually knocked something and changed the setting, so it wasn't doing face autofocus or eye autofocus, and it just caught me on the hop. I initially thought, as it was the first wedding and the first time I've ever seen this come up, that it wasn't quite happy talking to the Sony camera or something like that. It wasn't, because I then put over to a different lens and the same thing happened. Realised it was my error. Carried on then using this for a couple of other weddings. As you'll see from those images, there was a few weddings in there. And I'm very happy. 3 weddings where I used it properly. I actually just used it on a wedding on the weekend. I haven't managed to edit those images, but the quality of image that I'm getting from this is fantastic. I can't get over the actual amount of lens you are getting for just over £300 or just over $300. It's fantastic. The build on this is great. It's full metal. It's a nice size to it. It is a little bit weighty, but there is more glass in there. So when you compare it to the Sony, you're going to find that it feels heavier. And I do like the lighter lenses with Sony. But, you know, for the money, you can't argue. You cannot argue with this. I'm very impressed. 85mm is one of my favorite focal lengths, and I love my 85mm 1.8. I also love the Samyang 85 1.4, which I lent out. I actually lent out before this, and it's away again. Just one of my colleagues wants to borrow it, and it is great. But they used this last weekend, and only because I needed it back for this review did they say they're probably going to get one, which speaks volumes. It really does. Chromatic Aberration hasn't been that bad either. There's a couple of moments where obviously the light was just coming through and hitting the lens, or the way it was hitting the couple, where it did crop up with some purple fringing and hazing on the edges, but that only actually happened, I think, in one or two of the images that you've seen. One in particular now I'll bring up as one of my favourite images they took, actually, of the couple walking away, and it did pop up in a few of those images of that actual moment, which was a bit of a shame, but it's not to take too much away. Again, the couple and the clients probably won't notice. If this is your first step into prime lenses and you're looking at a nice portrait lens, I have to recommend this. For the price, it's so cheap. Everything else is £400 or £500, even to get something close to it. So this is superb for the money. I don't think initially I was expecting to get much from this lens, and I must admit I had my interest piqued when they said to me, use it however you want, say whatever you want about it, we stand by our lens. That spoke volumes to me, and I can see why. I can see why they were so happy for me to do whatever I wanted with it and say whatever I wanted to about it. They were obviously confident that I was going to say positive things, and I am. The weight of it was the only thing that on a personal level that I would say is of note, mainly because I'm used to using the Sony primes and they are lighter. But if you look at the Sigma Art range of lenses, they're monster size. They're very heavy. They tend to have an adapter built into them, which makes them even bigger, and the Sigma Art lenses are just very, very heavy. They're wonderful lenses, but they're very expensive and very heavy. So I didn't want to go down that route, but the weight of this is probably in between, somewhere in between a nice Sigma Art and the Sony, and it's not really an issue, to be honest. The whole system itself is quite light, and that's one of the benefits of this mirrorless system. So I love the Sony. I always have, and I always will, and I do love the images that I get out of this. But you cannot deny there's a lot of competition now in the 85mm range. The Samyang 85 1.4 seems to be a bit of a no-brainer, especially for the extra stopper low light, and the bokeh is beautiful on that. And now Viltrox have released the 85mm 1.8. They've really done themselves proud. I think it's their first major foray into a quality lens, and I'm impressed. I'm actually very excited to see what else they've got in the pipeline. I have no idea what they've got, but I'm going to be getting in touch with them and seeing what else they are cooking up at the moment. I am aware of a few other 85mm coming out, not that we need anymore, but I know Meike, M-E-I-K-E, Meike, are releasing an 85mm 1.8 as well, which looks very similar. So whether or not someone just stole the plans to Sony's 85mm 1.8 and has managed to produce something along the lines of that, which is why we're seeing so many lenses that are similar, we shall see. So there we have it, the 85mm 1.8 from Viltrox. It gets a massive thumbs up from me. For the money, you should be able to get fantastic results. And I think, again, it's another no-brainer of a lens that you want to add into your kit bag. If you're looking at 85s now, you've got a massive choice. Thanks again for watching. It's been a pleasure, and I really do enjoy making these videos. I hope you enjoy watching them. Don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and it means a lot. And also hit that little bell notification so you can be kept informed of when our next videos are coming out. Lots more coming up on the channel actually in about 2 weeks' time, so do keep an eye out for that. But until then, I will catch you in the next one.